This is NBC-3 News at 5.
As we begin tonight, flooding is certainly the big issue across central New York tonight. Look at what it was like last night. People are still dealing with these issues of having a record amount of rain, as much as 2.5 inches at Hancock Airport.
Yeah, the water backed up quickly last night, flooding some streets with more than a foot of standing water in some spots. Take a look at Burnett Avenue. This isn't far from Teal Avenue, off the exit off 690. You can see the water gushing out of that manhole, a problem seen across the city.
And tonight, Syracuse police believe a 28-year-old man is dead after falling into one of those open manholes last night just after 11 o'clock. Police say Brandon Closure was trying to help a woman move her car out of some standing water when he stepped right into the sewage system. It happened near the corner of Crowley and East Fayette Street on the east side of Syracuse. Now at 5 o'clock, Alex Priscilla joins us live with more on the search for the body and some warnings from the mayor. Alex.
Well, Matt, for about 2 or 3 blocks in any direction around this intersection, it is very apparent that there was water here last night, and quite a bit of it. Now, right now, we're going to give you a live look here on NBC-3 about the manhole that Brandon Closure fell through. The city says this is a standard-sized 3-foot manhole. We naturally asked why a manhole was off, creating an opening. We were told that's exactly what manholes are supposed to do. 4 feet of water consumed the intersection of East Fayette and Crowley Streets after a 25-year storm flooded Syracuse City roads.
The ground is saturated, and that means that for the foreseeable future, these kinds of incidents and this kind of flash flooding are a definite probability.
It was at this intersection where 28-year-old Brandon Closure tried to push out a stranded car. He fell through an opening left by the manhole cover. He is presumed dead. Several people tried to save him before safely going to higher ground. The mayor wants this to serve as an unfortunate reminder for others.
Under no circumstances should you try to take cars out of floodwater, should you try to rescue yourself. As we've seen, unfortunately, these kind of tragedies could happen. And so let this be a warning as we look at what happened in this fatality.
This manhole, like many others across the city, popped off during the intense storms. In half an hour, Syracuse got 1.5 inches of rain, pouring more water into the sewers than it's able to carry. The city says manholes are designed to pop off to ease the pressure on the sewers so they don't burst through the roads, causing worse damage. They're meant to withstand a 2-year storm, but a 25-year storm proved to bring too much water.
When you have that much rain fall that quickly, in ground that is that saturated, you're going to get storm surges.
When asked if this is an infrastructure issue, officials told us the sewers acted as they were built to, popping off when they're filled to capacity. Matt and Megan, as far as the actual search for his body goes, right now crews are out across the city. I was just in touch with the press secretary over at the mayor's office. He told me it's hard to pinpoint any one exact intersection where they're looking because they don't have an exact location. They're kind of looking throughout the entire area, as you can imagine. Now, one thing the mayor did tell me that they're using cameras to go down into the sewers, and they're hoping that that will help them in some capacity. For now, we're live in Syracuse. I'm Alex Priscilla. Back to you.
Heartbreaking for that family.
I've never heard anything like that before. Thank you, Alex.
All right, well, our live team coverage of the fierce flooding continues tonight with a restaurant feeling the effects of Mother Nature. Sarah Beth Ackerman joins us live from a Syracuse restaurant that's open for business, but the high waters are preventing customers from getting inside. Sarah Beth.
Earlier today, there were high waters over here on Hiawatha Boulevard and State Fair Boulevard, which made cars not be able to even pass through. But now the water has gone down a little bit, making it a little bit easier, but some businesses are still hurting. The owners at Mama Nancy's restaurant says every time it rains this hard, they get hit financially. And when it rains this hard and this heavy, the owners say they suffer. The owners are forced to stare at empty chairs and empty tables because no one can get in or get out. It's so quiet at the restaurant sometimes, they had to cut back on staff. There was only one waitress working today. Right now, they're already down 60% of their business alone.
We need to be able to run our business like anybody else needs to run their business and survive.
I know the city tries to do things to help, but it's a bad situation. There's no place for the water to go.
The owners at Mama Nancy's restaurant says this is an ongoing issue and they're just looking for some solutions. They already reached out to the city as well as the Department of Public Works, and they're just hoping for some answers. For now, reporting live in Syracuse, I'm Sarah Beth Ackerman.
A lot of money lost there, that's for sure. Thank you, Sarah Beth. Now, it's not just in Syracuse where we're seeing a significant amount of flooding. Remember that the flash flood warning was all over northwestern Onondaga County last night. In CICERO, lawns were buried under at least a foot of water in some cases. This is Beach Road right near Oneida Lake, where neighborhoods were flooded and roads turned into slow-moving rivers. Rattlesnake, Gulch, and CICERO flooded yet again. As you can see, cars tried to slowly make their way through the area of 298 through the CICERO swamp. At some point, they were discouraging drivers from going through this. Big signs on 690 telling people to stay away from 298 through the CICERO swamp.
And we've seen more rain this afternoon, so is there another risk for flooding? Meteorologist Mike Brookins is in for Wayne tonight. Mike, what can we expect?
Megan, it looks like no longer any further flooding due to today's rains. We picked up another 87/100ths of an inch of rain on top of that record 2.64 inches yesterday. Of course, some areas got upwards of 3 or more inches of rainfall yesterday. But, you know, we always try to preach and let people know, turn around, don't drown. And that includes playing or even trying to rescuing, as we heard, people that are stranded in flooded waters. We'll leave that to the pros. Stanley Law Skywatch. Let's talk about the weather tonight. We've got some peaks of sunshine. This is our Adirondack Furniture camera. Dry road there. Notice no precipitation in Onondaga County. Here it is on live triple Doppler radar brought to us by Cayuga Community College. Some downpours isolated in Otsego County, also up towards St. Lawrence County. There are a few spotty showers to the west and also to the north. We'll head up there. You'll see in portions of Jefferson County a little wet weather. These spotty showers are going to wrap up later this evening. We're not expecting heavy rainfall from that or any thunderstorms. After midnight dry, there'll be some fog forming on our fastcast, low temperature of 57, and really just what the doctor ordered. After that clouds and fog burns off, a lot of sunshine will begin to dry out, thankfully, with mid-70s. We've got more good news for Friday. What about 4th of July? We got that in the 7-day forecast.
Mike, thank you. An alert tonight. The New York State Canal System is closed to all motorized vessels due to significant flooding. This runs from Cross Lake East to Oneida Lake. Due to the recent rainfall, all waterways are at an elevated and hazardous level. The canal system is running much higher than seasonal levels, making navigation extremely dangerous. That creates a situation where large amounts of dangerous debris like trees and branches are washed off the shore and into the waterways, often floating unseen below the surface.
Also be aware of flooding on the road. If you see standing water, as Mike just mentioned, you're advised turn around, do not drive through it.
That's right. Hiawatha Boulevard covered in water this morning. The floodwater shut down the exit ramp there to 690 earlier today. It reopened just before noon. And more video to show you tonight from Thompson Road in DeWitt. There was major flooding in the early morning hours. Water's made for dangerous travel for drivers, that's for sure. In the area of Thompson Road and Carrier Circle first thing in the morning. Remember, if you see water conditions like this, do not go through it. Our team coverage of the flooding continues tonight with a home not far from West Hill High School nearly destroyed by all the flooding last night. The water took out the wall of her home. Look at this. Mindy Griffin and her family fortunately got out of that house safely, but the rushing water destroyed her basement and everything in it in the blink of an eye.
It was literally probably a 15-minute span from when it left the banks to came all the way up to the side of my house.
Look at that huge chunk of concrete taken out of the bottom of her home. Griffin's home borders the normally quiet Harbor Creek, but after last night's rainfall, she says the creek looked more like a raging river. Some serious structural damage there. Now, the Red Cross has a shelter open in Syracuse for people who might be displaced by the flooding with nowhere else to go. Nearly 24 people stayed at the Westcott Community Center on Euclid Avenue last night. This afternoon, Centro brought those still displaced to a new shelter they set up at St. Lucy's Church on Gifford Street on the near west side.
Well, we live on the 3rd floor of an apartment house, and our roof was leaking really bad, and our ceiling was about to cave in a little bit.
Rescue Mission has also partnered with the Red Cross to help provide meals for people affected by this run of severe weather. Soggy stuff there. Still ahead on NBC-3 News at 5.
Female is stabbed in her back, bleeding everywhere. 44 female conscious of breathing at this time.
We're learning more tonight about the teen who was stabbed to death in her home in Lynn Court. We'll have more on what police discovered when they arrived on the scene. And the escaped inmate, David Sweat, continues to tell investigators how he and Richard Matt made it out of Clinton Correctional. We'll tell you what new details of the plot he is releasing.
And ladies, if you're trying to get pregnant, you might want to spend some more time in the sun. We'll tell you how soaking up the rays can increase your fertility. You're watching NBC-3 News at 5. Well, we are coming off a very active weather night.
Yeah, that's for sure. We're getting all kinds of pics emailed to us, pictures from our viewers. This was in the city of Syracuse. That's one of those manhole covers that was basically erupting with water. There was so much water in the system last night. This is Locomotive Lane in CICERO. CICERO is one of the areas hit the hardest last night.
Yeah, we saw that certainly in some of the video that we gathered. You can see people sort of standing in the water. Other people, as you showed just before, breaking out their canoes to try to get through their neighborhood.
Well, we have the fun side of it too. Before, we want to show common sight. Many of you had basements filled with water. The viewer who sent us this picture said a couple hours later the water had drained away. They were going to be okay. And then here's the fun stuff. Here's the cute little, well, yeah, there we go. Kids, grandkids out back, the ducks going down the street, and what else do we have? Yeah, the kayakers too. If you can see those, I don't know. Mike, you know, that mixture, it's funny how a storm comes through like that, and say 8:30, 9 o'clock last night, it seemed like sort of a fun event, unique. You see kids playing in it. Then somewhere 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock, it got really serious.
Oh, yeah, Mike. And, you know, the businesses and homeowners that were affected certainly are not smiling tonight.
No, you know, as a child, I can admit I once played in the water, but it's a really dangerous situation that evolved into, especially in urban areas where we do have the sewer and grate systems and flash flooding ongoing last evening. So you definitely want to play it safe, and it's best to just stay out of the water completely because you just never know. It's also with driving. You don't know if the roads are washed out, so just stay out. It was a really record amazing amount of rainfall. I've got the rain gauge here, 3.2 inches of rain in the last 24 hours here in Syracuse. Well, we're welcoming the dry conditions we have overhead right now. We'll show it to you on the Stanley Law Sky Watch, and I can already feel a difference in the air. We've got some partial sunshine to mostly cloudy sky, but the humidity, it is dropping. The dew point temperature feels a little bit more refreshing. Stuffy a lot today, I know, but the cold front swept on through in the afternoon. With that last line of downpours, we picked up 87/100ths of an inch of rain during the afternoon and midday. But now it's just isolated showers. Those are going to wrap up by midnight. In fact, we can see nothing else for the rest of the next couple of days here in Syracuse, at least. It does turn foggy for tonight. There's a lot of still residual moisture on the ground, and as we cool down, we'll see that form. Partly sunny, pleasant tomorrow. But wait, it gets even better for Friday. Mostly sunny skies heading on into the start of the holiday weekend, July 4th. Mostly dry this upcoming weekend. We'll talk about that in the 7-day forecast. 72 in downtown, 73 at the airport right now. Many areas are in the 60s, as you can see, a little wider. It's cooled down to 62 with the rain showers up in the North Country. Watertown, it's 66 in Saranac Lake, and actually a little bit milder, still 70s back to the west, as this last batch of showers will cool them down a little bit, but we're drying out nicely. You can see on Cayuga Community College, live triple Doppler radar. We may get hit with some of these, and up to the north, we've got some that are dropping to the east-southeast, but no longer seeing any thunderstorms or any heavy rain. A little bit of a downpour near Oneonta. We've also got some showers just east of Sherburne and near Norwich. Seneca County, Ontario, Wayne, going over towards Rochester. We've got some of those scattered downpours and showers. Those will probably stay south of Syracuse. These will stay to the north-northeast. These spotty showers tapering off around midnight, so late night. Partly to mostly cloudy sky here with that fog setting up. Once that burns off, skies will start to improve tomorrow. A mix of sun and clouds midday, turning mostly sunny by the evening. Look how nice it's going to be for tomorrow. I bet you a lot of people out there mowing the lawn as it's been growing like crazy, and frankly, it's a little too wet in many areas to be out mowing this evening. As we go into Friday, more chances for doing so. And then Saturday, we do run a risk for a shower or thunderstorm later in the day. Temperatures tonight down to 57 degrees. First half of the night, some spotty showers. Sleep tight with no threat for storms during the overnight. Some areas of dense fog. Factor that in if you leave for work early in the day. That patchy fog, mostly cloudy to partly sunny sky, gives way to mostly sunny sky by the evening. 75 our high. 80 and mostly sunny for Friday. Now Saturday, sun and clouds for the 4th. There'll be a few showers and thunderstorms during the afternoon and evening. A humid 81. Back to mostly sunny skies for Sunday. For Monday, mostly dry Tuesday. Late in the day, there'll be some scattered showers and storms. Look how this heat comes in. A lot of people complained about June, how cold it is. We've got plenty of heat in that 7-day. Guys, back inside.
Thank you, Mike. More details are unfolding in the investigation of the tragic stabbing death of a Lynn-Court teen this week. We've obtained the 911 dispatch calls from the emergency call center that dispatched the crews to the scene.
Onondaga County Sheriff's deputies say Shannon Ingram was killed by her mother's boyfriend, Mark Sternastic, early Monday morning in her home on Gaynor Avenue.
Now, Ingram's mother, Kimberly Kianka, was stabbed in the back, but managed to get away after a time. She called for help from the Tops at Shop City Plaza, a few blocks away. We've also learned tonight that on Sunday, police were called to the home for a report of domestic violence. New at 5, our Kelly Cowan explains how this tragedy could happen just one day after that domestic call.
It's going to be 181 Shop City Plaza.
Shortly after 6 a.m. Monday morning, police received a harrowing plea for help from a woman who called 911 from the Tops grocery store in Shop City Plaza.
She's been stabbed in the back, stating her daughter is deceased. Need a unit to respond to 103 Gaynor Ave.
The woman was Kimberly Kianka. She'd run from her home 2 blocks away on Gaynor Avenue, bloodied and suffering from a serious stab wound. Seeking help for herself and her 16-year-old daughter, she feared dead, as their alleged attacker slept inside the home.
If you can break free, they got another patient over on Gaynor Ave looking for the ambulance expedite. Responding to Shop City, police are requesting no lights or sirens in the area.
When police arrived at the home on Gaynor Avenue, they found 16-year-old Shannon Ingram deceased. She'd suffered multiple stab wounds. Just one day before, police were called to the home for a domestic disturbance. A call came into 911 Sunday morning. According to Onondaga County Sheriffs, the responding officer determined the nature of the disturbance to be verbal and not physical, and that no crime had been committed. A domestic incident report was filed and even followed up on. Mark Sternastic, who was arrested Monday after the brutal stabbing, agreed to voluntarily leave the residence on Sunday. According to state law, police responding to a domestic disturbance must make a mandatory arrest if they believe that a felony or misdemeanor has occurred. But in the case of a verbal domestic disturbance, police do not have the authority to make arrests.
Suspect is female boyfriend of Mark Erkensack, possibly still at 103 Gaynor Ave, possibly sleeping. Female Kim is stabbed in her back, bleeding everywhere.
The sheriff's office says police followed proper procedure. The investigation into what led to the death of a 16-year-old girl is still ongoing. In Syracuse, Kelly Cowan reporting.
We have new information for you tonight on the 2 prisoners who escaped from the high-security prison in Dannemora. David Sweat says he masterminded last month's New York State prison break. It's one of the details Sweat revealed to investigators from his hospital bed. Sweat says they started planning the break back in January. He told investigators the pair made it out to a manhole outside the facility during a practice run the night before their escape. But they decided it was too close to nearby homes. So instead, they exited the tunnel early the next morning through a slightly more isolated manhole located about a block from the prison walls.
The Downtown Syracuse Committee is teaming up with the police department to try to make the area safer. The group announced this afternoon that they'll be bringing 10 more crime cameras to the core of downtown. Some of the streets where cameras will be installed include West Fayette, Walton, Jefferson, and Clinton streets. Assemblyman Bill Magnarelli was able to secure the $80,000 of state money to help fund the cameras.
Coming up on NBC-3 News at 5. Are you looking to get pregnant? I'll tell you why the easiest solution might be to just get a little more sun each day.
And coming up at 5:30, we'll continue our coverage of the flooding across central New York. We'll talk to this woman in the West Hill neighborhood. Part of her house was taken away by a nearby creek that overflowed. You're watching NBC3 News at 5.